right. Good evening. Welcome. My name is Peter Green. They call me the Mystic, probably because they've seen my bank account. And this is Niagara Voices. Normally it would be one of our. Normally it would be another of our hosts. I'd like to introduce Johnny Campanella on the right.
Yep.
Hello again.
And, of course, John Restaino on the left, who is part of Citizens United on Wednesdays here. And Dante Miles, who's normally the co-host with Johnny, has a gig tonight. He is a musician, much like I am, and that's why we had to cancel last week. Last week was filled with musical events, and I couldn't be here, so my apologies.
That's fine.
I'm glad to have Johnny here. I'm glad to have John. And we also are joined in studio by John's wife, Robin Restaino, who can say hello, but we promise no cameras.
Hey, Robin.
Hello.
Hello, that
Nice to
was
have you
Robin Restaino. So you are fortunate to have finally heard her voice. So there you go.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
Of course.
an
Thank you
absolute
for being
pleasure.
here.
Absolutely. So, gentlemen and ladies, we also have Ohio. Yeah, the only
Ohio
one we
Barb,
have
too.
Ohio Barb
Yeah.
in the studio. I could put up pictures of her from last week, but and now I'm just noticing things flying over the wall at me. So we're not going to do that. But welcome everyone. We're just getting things set up here. Let's see how we're doing on.
Good evening, Kim. I just saw the comment.
Oh, it's Kim
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, Kim
Excellent.
Guthrie. She was
Ah,
right on
Kim's
before we even got on.
wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have her there. So, gentlemen, we have a host of things we could talk about, but I thought what I'd do is introduce sort of an overall theme for tonight, and why we brought John and Robin on as well was to expand so we could do this theme, which is really simple. The shows like this, like Edge of the Falls, like Citizens United, Tessa Del Zoppo's show, A Night with a Medium, Fun Day Nights with Noel and Courtney, and Dustin with his Dustin Hardy with his Harry Potter show on Sundays. These shows are meant to engage our community and get people talking and listening. And it was interesting tonight because Johnny and John were bringing up topics at the square table before we came out into the studio. And there's so many things we can talk about. So I'm going to ask Johnny, what's on your mind, first of all, my friend?
Well, I was thinking, just honestly, since I knew that John and Robin were coming in, I wanted them to maybe start it off. Anything that they would like to talk about, or because we were talking earlier, like Peter said at the table, about just trying to, I remember what you said. I really liked, Peter, is that if I was saying if communities could just literally get together to be able to talk, from different sides, different races, and be able to communicate, agree to disagree, or anything like that. That if every community in the country did that, it would be amazing, and how much farther we could be. If that happens, but like I said, if you wanted to talk about anything, Robin.
Well, I know. For me, it's funny. We were talking before the show about what Johnny was saying, and I was, it's weird because I'm pretty. I must be pretty jaded or something because I hear the positivity, and I want to be positive, and I guess it's my age because. There's so much that needs to be done when it comes to race and it comes to coming together. Mm-hmm. And for me, I still think there's so many people out there that never, ever get their voice heard. I mean, it's fine to hear,
I agree.
You have the city just set up the most. I think it was I don't know. It's nothing. The justice. What the hell is it? Robin, do you know what it is? What am I trying to say? It's that thing they're setting up. It's that board. It's the Peter.
The justice.
I forgot how they're calling it, but you know what I'm talking about. They all got together. It was going to be someone about police and someone about education.
Oh, yes. You were advocating for that. A citizens review board?
Well, I want that. But the city instead did something different where they decided to have everyone on the board that would never have anything to do with anything. It was mostly all CEOs and, the guy who's the president of Niagara University.
Yeah, no, we need people.
Yeah, we need people. I had always wanted 5 to 7 people, all different walks of life.
Men, women.
Everything. Every race, all of that. But they come, here's what I do with them. You got the 7 of them together, and they're involved whenever there's misconduct in the city. They're not like they would never make any judgments, but they're there to hear. So that way, there is a community, the community's hearing it, not just a councilman or not just the mayor or whoever, because they won't tell us. And they have it in Orlando, Florida, and I think it's great. The Citizens Review Board, and it's just but you're getting people, like I want people from DeVoe. I want someone from 18th Street.
Every different neighborhood,
Regular people. I don't care if they work at, the dollar store or if they work at...
We want middle class. We want just average people. I just wanted to add real quick. I brought up a few shows ago that, it'd be nice to have a committee of just other people besides even police that could even help out with cases or with police, like having people, having like a group that can help police with like social, race, religion, those types of people that can help clear up things so things don't get so hectic or to prevent possible murders or, injustice.
I think it'd be good to have advocates that, form I hate to say a barrier, but more of a bridge between victims and the police. Yeah. I was in a situation myself where I needed to file a police report, and having an advocate who was experienced in what I had gone through and who knew what the police were going to expect of me was so helpful to me, just to have her there. She didn't have to say anything. She just prepared me ahead of time. She was there if I had any questions. And I think you could do that with so many different issues where you have an advocate that's informed on both sides.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree completely. That would be great. Yeah. And that's why that we always talk about the YWCA. They're incredible.
Yes.
They really are.
Well, with that in mind, and now that Robin has kind of helped us with that topic, yes, our police need help. They need citizens who don't hide indoors and don't shy away from helping police our neighborhoods. And that's the problem. This is no longer just a big city. This is a group of neighborhoods, whether it's DeVoe, whether it's 19th and Niagara, whether it's up in LaSalle. We are a series of neighborhoods that need to stand up and protect our children and protect our seniors and protect each other. So we need, Johnny, we're dead right on that. We need to support our police actively and be part of their team, so to speak. And another topic I'll bring up right now, and we may touch on it several times tonight, does tie in with Robin. Yowawa Media, the company here, he's working on a documentary that centers around Robin. Robin, do you feel comfortable expressing what your case was?
Sure. I was sexually abused and raped by a family friend whose children I babysat starting when I was 12 years old and going until I was 17. And, for years it was a typical victim situation where I blamed myself, just went through terrible darkness and just terrible emotions. And my husband, John, luckily helped me to get to a place where I was able to get into therapy and to go and file a police report, even though it was past the statute of limitation for criminal charges. And we're now pursuing a civil suit, and the defendant has been served with the papers.
Yeah.
Now, that in mind, those of you who are familiar with the Child Victims Act, had a resurgence in the last couple of years of cases being brought forward. I mean, I've been looking at the New York's online court system, and Ohio Barb was looking at the same thing I was the other day, and we were saying that, wow, there's lots of people coming forward with this. And, of course, the Child Victims Act is an open door for people to file charges for past sexual transgressions up till they're at the age of 55. And so a statute of limitations, we always say, that is not a limitation on the hurt, the pain, the shame. So it's a really rough situation for those who are victims. Now you're seeing
Right.
this Child Victims Act come out, but there are a lot of people who lawyers won't even approach. I mean, Robin, what did
Yes.
lawyers say to you when you were talking to them about going after the one individual?
It was very, very frustrating. I called, I'm going to say probably 10 different lawyers who would have me go through my whole story. I mean, keep me on the phone for an hour, have me in tears with all the details, and then they'd say, I'm sorry, but I just don't think he has enough money to go after him. If it was a big company, if it was the schools or the Boy Scouts, or even if maybe it was an athlete like one of the Buffalo Bills, if somebody famous had abused you, we'd be able to help you. And thank God for Paul Barr, who has also been a victim of abuse, and I believe that's why he is a more understanding attorney. He was willing to take the case because he, like me, just wanted to see justice.
Yeah, the empathy was obviously there. I mean, I'm privy to more
That's
of your
needed.
story because I'm working with you on the documentary. And Kathy Hooper asks, she says, "But how do you go about starting something like that?" Actually, has my mind going. That's what we're doing the documentary on. We call it. It's titled "These Other Cases." Or those other cases. And it centers around Robin, but it's also going to touch on other cases that don't fit the mold. You don't have a diocese or a church that has money to go after. You know, it's sad because if you listen to what Robin was told by some of these lawyers, you know, you have to be able to afford justice. You know, it has to have a price tag.
Yeah. I mean, and the apathy with it, too. Just like,
Exactly.
boom, oh, sorry. It's ridiculous.
Yep. And so we started on the idea of doing a documentary because we want to bring those other cases into the light. We want people looking at the things that are happening with victims of all sorts of abuse, not just one type, but that there should be no statute of limitations.
Yes,
You
and
know?
I appreciate that so much, Peter, because I'll tell you, the biggest part of my healing has been helping other people heal.
Yes.
I've been very open on Facebook about what happened to me. I've tried to get the word out there to as many people as I can that anyone who's been in a similar situation or knows someone in a similar situation, I'm glad to talk to them, to walk them through the process that I went through. Like John mentions on all his shows, the YWCA, they're a godsend. They do my therapy for free every week.
Oh, that's great.
I sit on my couch and my therapist calls me, so I don't have the anxiety of having to leave the house. As you can imagine, after all these years, I have, you know, anxiety and depression problems that are just, you know, unbelievable. And to not have to leave the comfort of my house and still be able to get these services is just amazing.
Yeah.
And I want to help people find how they can do the same.
That's amazing. I think that, especially from the comfort of your own home, especially if it's fresh or no matter when, I mean, that's an amazing thing and a godsend for people to get that help, because a lot of people, that is an issue, is getting somewhere or feeling comfortable enough to leave and go somewhere and talk to someone. I think at home helps a lot. It helps you open up a lot.
Absolutely. You're in your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're in your comfy clothes sitting there.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you have to be
Present
out
yourself.
of that. Yeah, be out of that zone. And it's really, really helpful. And so if anybody out there doesn't know how to get a hold of me, my Facebook is just Robin Restaino, or you can reach out to Citizens United. John and I monitor the page together, so if anybody needs any help or has any questions that you'd rather not address on the show, reach out to me. I'll be glad to help you.
And that's, you know, that's the outcome of something like this. I know when Kathy Hooper is asking here, and Kathy, I plan to connect with you little later on this idea, because something that came to mind, and I know John is a big part of this because John's very involved in what we do here at Uwawa. Something came to mind was that when these things happen, and Kathy, there may be a case that you're aware of that merits doing a documentary, telling the story. That's what a documentary is. It's the story And hopefully it's done it's not like they do in the Rag Porter, as I call it, where they tell one side of a story to serve an agenda. But we're going to tell a story, and we're going to get as many perspectives, police and counselors, and the DA here in Niagara County was actually an NPR radio a year or two ago talking about the Me Too movement, that she had gone through a similar experience, explaining why women don't come forward on things. So doing these documentaries, I think, is going to be a service to the people of the community, because it's going to tell stories that people need to hear.
And I had a female detective that had clearly, dealt with things like this before. And John and I were just made to feel so comfortable. We had an advocate with us from the YWCA, and we had a female detective who had clearly dealt with this before. And I was so nervous and upset going into it, and I walked out and felt good. And then when I got the report, because it was really just a series of questions that they ask you, and then you wait a couple weeks and you get the report. And when I read the report, I said to John, this is my story. She got it. She listened to what I said and put it on paper, and this is my story.
Well, that's the type of help you're getting. I think a lot of people, when something happens to them, I think, like you were describing with yourself, they close up, they isolate, they hide, and that's emotionally, physically, mentally, and they shut down because of what's happened to them. And when that does happen, I mean, people, very few people know how to help us. When we're not reaching out, everyone thinks, well, just tell me you need help, and I'm going to come out and tell you I'm heartbroken and emotionally destroyed, and no, I'm not going to be able to do that. But sounds like what you've had is a group of people who understand, allowing you to step into comfort and find.
Absolutely.
Well, Robin, I know you were that went on for almost 30 years. When you think about it, being isolated and trying to just escape from everything,
And sometimes I think you need. Well, initially, especially too, you need that time, though. Everybody's different, where you need that time to kind of shut down to be able to really grasp what happened, I think. But at a certain point, not for a long period of time, because you want help as soon as possible. But sometimes, you might need a little bit to get everything together and put everything in check. And I mean, was that an issue you had, Robin, for a while, being able to do all that?
It actually was. Partway through the abuse, I was very close with the family. I was close with my abuser's wife and his children. I didn't want to be taken away from them. I loved them very much. I didn't want them to be hurt. I wasn't sure exactly what to do. I went to my sister, who's 10 years older than I am. I believe it was when I was 14, so the abuse had been going on for 2 years at that point. She was 24 years old, and I started to explain to her what was happening to me, and she looked at me and said, "You're absolutely disgusting."
What? Oh my God.
Victim shaming.
And we never said another word about it. And for years, my mother couldn't understand. I mean, that was the worst of a number of things that my sister's done to me. But my mother couldn't understand why I was so upset with my sister. So I finally admitted to my mother about the abuse and how my sister had handled it. And my mother called my sister, and she called me back, and she said, "Well, your sister thought she was keeping your secret. She thought you liked it."
Yeah.
And I said, he was 30 years old and I was 12. I don't care if I was doing cartwheels across the floor. Any adult should know that's wrong.
Jesus Christ. Honestly, like the fact that she said it's disgusting, victim blaming, and then to try to say like that you liked it, like what? I don't understand how family could do that to one another, but especially just like why can't you understand how terrible that is? I understand people try to victim blame and like, oh, it's not happening in their mind. But like if someone tells you that, especially your sister, I don't know how you can't just get sick in your stomach and believe them. It's something I think that's changing now. I believe, even Courtney Knoll talked about this on their thing about that girl who, was trying to, now she was telling her grandparents and her mom that she was being abused by her stepfather. And I mean, they wouldn't believe her, but I know she's with her father now and all that. But I don't understand why as a parent or a sister or family member, you would try to just pretend it's not happening. And to say that, you liked it, clearly that's a pedophile behavior. You're freaking 12 and up. I mean, but he's 30. That's right. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting. And I'm so glad though that you moved through that, because that's hard to deal with, to have that.
It took a long time because I felt at fault to begin with. I was 12 years old. I had a little girl crush on this guy. So
right.
In my mind,
that's innocent.
In my mind, it was like I brought it on anyways. So then when my sister said that to me, it like cemented in my head, this is your fault. You did this, and this is what happens when you do that. And so for years I handled it by drinking too much, by making all the wrong choices in life
to
that
numb
you could possibly,
yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. But now I'm in a much better place. I mean, I still have anxiety and depression,
right?
Quite badly. I get panic attacks frequently, but I'm moving into a better place. I have a great support system around me. I don't talk to my given family anymore. I have a new family, Peter, Barb, my husband and my kids and my grandkids, and those are the people that are around me and support me. Those are the people that are my family.
Good. I'm so glad that you have that, because that's very traumatic. I mean, that's a lot to deal with, and I'm very proud of you for being able, comfortable to tell your story, and it's gonna help people out there, and I think that Kathy just said about how the organization she was mentioning was Bikers Against Child Abuse. That she said it's kind of a step program. I'm not sure if that means like it's like a step to help. But she mentioned that, but I'm just so very thankful that you shared your story, because this happens more than people realize.
Oh, it's awful.
But the fact that someone who's like, your sister was 24,
mm-hmm.
and she is like, oh, that's what happens when you're a 12-year-old little girl, she can make that decision that, oh, since you had a crush on him, that you basically brought it on. No, it's one thing to have an innocent crush on someone, okay, but when it's a whole other thing when the 30-year-old's abusing you and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It's mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing, boggling, and I just have so much empathy for you, and but you really just give me strength, I mean, because you just literally went through something that I don't think a lot of people could handle, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Johnny.
Yes, and I mean, I can relate to like the addiction things, like you said,
mm-hmm.
You would drink to numb the pain.
Self-medicate.
Yeah. And it's just incredible though that like I was saying, that family can try to pretend it didn't happen, especially, I mean, in other situations, like when it's actual family members, they try not to. They're like, no, my family member couldn't do that, or it's same thing with. I mean, now, if you don't mind me asking, did your neighbor, was he with a woman at the time?
Yes, in fact, they were married. They just got divorced after my mother confronted my sister. My sister then looked up their phone number in Colorado and decided, all these years later, to call them, and to accuse him of being a rapist. And he said, no, she had a crush on me. Nothing ever happened. But then come to find out, right around shortly thereafter, they got divorced after being married for 35, 40 years. So I'm guessing either his wife had an inkling all along, or he admitted it.
She didn't know it. She didn't know at all that this was happening then.
To be honest,
you're not sure.
I'm not sure.
Never underestimate the power of denial.
Yeah. I hope not.
Right.
Because I really did care for her, and I really did a lot to shield. This is one thing that my therapist and I have talked about. I did a lot to try to shield his wife and kids because I didn't want them to go through what I was going through. So I took on the, all the pain and everything myself in the hopes that they never would have to.
Right.
But as I look back on things that happened, he was very bold about things. He would catch me when I was sleeping on the couch and his kids were sleeping right on the floor in the same room. He would, there would be a family gathering and he'd pull me aside in the bathroom. And things that just were behaviors that
a predator.
And it's hard for me to believe that for 5 years worth of constant behavior like that, now as an adult and the way I watch my own home, it's hard for me to believe that his wife didn't have some kind of idea.
Yeah, unless there's got to be definitely denial, I think, if she knows. But
don't forget, Robin, remember, how old were you, 12, 13, when she decided she wanted to do shots with you?
Yeah, that was another big thing.
So,
Who? The wife?
Yeah, the wife.
She clearly wasn't responsible at all as an adult either. So
that was another thing. When I was a kid, when you're a kid, you always want to be treated as an adult. You
want to grow up fast.
Right. Every kid wants to grow up fast. So I'm 12 years old. I'm at their house. They're having parties. They're letting me drink with them. They're buying my cigarettes for me. They're, doing all this. Like John mentioned, there was a night that she came home from work and she was drunk and she woke me up and said, let's try a shot of everything in the liquor cabinet. And I said, okay. And her and I sat on the floor and did probably 12 shots. And I was 12, 13 years old when it happened.
So she could have literally, started your, the abuse with the alcohol too, and, you being comfortable with it at such a young age. I'm sure, I just hope, God, if she ever did contact you, I hope she doesn't use the, I was drinking then, or I was on stuff, and that's why, because that's not an excuse,
Right.
You can be on everything and notice something going on.
Right. I tried to reach out to her before I started my quest to find a lawyer, because once again, me wanting to protect her and the kids, I wanted to prepare her for what was coming.
Right.
I sent her a message on Facebook and I said, I need to talk to you. Can you please send me your phone number? And she immediately blocked me.
Yeah, that's guilt.
So I've been told by more than one person that, that's pretty much a sign that she had some role in it, whether it be, she had suspicions or whether she knew it was happening and she was just glad he wasn't bothering her.
Right.
There's just so much on the spectrum of, what she knew. And for all I know, he put the kids in such a terrible position where I don't know if they know. They could have seen things.
Right. Oh, right.
They're 4 and 6 years younger than I am. So if I was 12, they were 8 and 6.
And he might have even told him, don't say anything, or like you said, they saw stuff and they
didn't know how to process it and did the same thing.
That negatively affected them as well, I'm sure, throughout their life now. Yeah. I'm
And John, here you are, married to someone who's gone through all this. And when did you first become aware of that? I don't want to sound like your interviewer, but I'm thinking from the point of view here, we're hearing that someone knew here or maybe they knew there. For you, when did you learn all this had happened?
2003, I guess it was.
How long had you been married by then?
We weren't married yet.
Oh, okay.
We got married in 2005, and Robin, we married 15 years now, right?
Yep. Andy, our oldest, is almost 18, and we got together like about just over a year before he was born, and I told John almost immediately.
Well, I know him.
John was one of the first. he was actually the second person that I told after my sister.
I know the guy.
Oh.
I never
I know
said
him.
another word to anyone, and I just held it all in. And right away, I mean, John and I, and not to go into a nice romantic story, but John and I, the very first date we went on, we haven't been apart a day ever since. The only nights we've spent apart were my back surgeries since then. So it was very clear and very apparent right away that that John was who I was going to spend my life with. And so I told him within days of us dating, because I knew that it was something.
You knew he was the right one, though, too.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And you were blessed with him, you know?
His reaction and his sympathy and the way he's helped me through this.
Yeah.
No.
I can't imagine. I know there's other good people in the world,
Right,
but
but-
I
Robin can't
imagine
see you,
anyone.
John, but
No.
you're anxious to respond here. What were you going to say?
No, I have nothing. I'm not anything. I mean, and I don't know if I don't say enough to
You're
Robin.
a Leaf fan.
No,
You
I
are.
am that. And on our
You
first
are a wonderful supporter and a husband
Yeah, well,
and
on
father.
our first date, the Leafs were playing the Senators, and we went to Grandma Mora's. It was a Mexican restaurant, and I remember the Leafs were playing the Senators because I never miss a game. And when we sat down, the Leafs and Senators were right above Robin's head on TV, so we were able to.
Oh, yeah.
No, it was fun, but I mean, I don't ever say this enough, but there's been times where I hate where the factory and everything, where I think of Robin, and it's like, geez, she's been through so much. What the hell? I should be able to handle doing anything I need to do.
Right.
So
It helps you
motivates
you to be able to
now
take it.
The other guy, the scum, I knew him. You see, now me and Robin.
Yes, please explain.
Robin is Robin. How much? What are you? 6 years younger than me?
7.
7. So I used to coach Little League in like 1990, from 90, right after I graduated from high school, like 90, 91, 92, 93, all the way to 96. And that guy was there at the Little League. So I know who he is.
Because his kids?
Yeah. And
okay.
And I know who he is. I knew exactly who he was. And it just killed me knowing I know who he is, and we couldn't catch it. We couldn't get a hold of him in Colorado. And
So were you in Colorado at the time when this was?
no,
Wait,
no.
you were here?
Yeah, he was here too.
Okay.
Still.
Okay. So, and did you know about what happened with Robin while
No.
you knew him?
No.
Here? Okay. So, okay.
I
Because
knew
I was gonna say I
nothing.
don't think he'd be even here on this earth if you did.
Yeah,
know.
no. In '97, he leaves, right, Robin, for Colorado or something.
Right.
So then I don't, But the thing is, I always I didn't know him personally like that, but I knew him from Little League.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
I
were-
saw
yeah,
the guy.
Acquaintance.
I didn't
quote,
think.
unquote.
And I
Oh, I'm
always
sure.
I always looked at him and thought that he looked like the guy. If I left $10, he'd take it. But I didn't know
Right.
what's going on.
It's hard
but-
sometimes to, sometimes you're like, that's definitely a person
Yeah.
to do that. But yeah, sometimes you're shocked.
And I just I've done a little bit. Robin's done it all, and 30 years of this, whatever it is for her, always hiding it, or just keep it in her head.
It must feel great to let it out,
Yeah,
though.
I'm happy that she's doing it, and I try really hard to never ever get frustrated because it's hard. Robin has nightmares. I mean, there's nightmares all the time, here and there. The anxiety's crazy. The like she says, the depression and all that, and it's just. He got served, so it's really incredible that they found him, because I've been doing searches on Google like crazy. I ended up finding out that his older brother, now this is an incredible story that Robin told me, the older brother lived in Colorado while they lived here in
Right.
Niagara Falls. Well, the older brother, at one point, they told Robin, and I guess everybody, that the older brother went to prison for drugs. So I'm looking around just the other day, just before he got served, and I'm trying to find more addresses. Well, all of a sudden the brother comes up, and I find out he went to jail for child molesting. His older brother, it was incest. His older brother molested somebody, and he did time in prison. He's on the sexual, offenders thing. So, I mean, that was just unbelievable. I mean, obviously, there's something going on. I mean,
Maybe he even did it to the older brother did it to him, and then
Who knows?
I do hear that
Yeah.
it's a sick cycle. I've seen a documentary on pedophiles that were abused themselves, and then it continues the cycle.
Right.
Just like
Yeah.
abuse of like a father abusing, or abusing their wife or kids, and then it just goes to the next generation.
And I've always said, I mean, it was a very exciting thing when he got served. It's never been about the money. I don't care if I get a dime. I hope Paul Barr gets paid for the work he's done in helping me. But what I've always wanted and what I've envisioned for the 30 years is for him to have the feeling when he gets those papers that I used to have when I was asleep and would hear the door open to the kitchen and think, oh no, is it going to happen tonight or is he just going to go to bed? And I've always dreamt of him having that kind of dread in him like he put into me for all those years. And it hasn't gone away. I mean, like John said, I have terrible nightmares. For anyone
PTSD.
out there that's experiencing that, two things that, well, one thing my doctor recommended and one thing that my therapist recommended that have been somewhat helpful. I take the CBD gummies with melatonin about an hour before I go to bed, and they seem to calm me down a little. And then we find, because John and I both find the sounds of water to be very relaxing, we set up our phone with a babbling brook or a waterfall or something.
I do
like
stuff
that.
like that with thunder.
Yeah. And we, find a sound that sounds comforting for that day, and we'll play it so that it plays all night. So if I wake up in the middle of the night and I have a nightmare, I'll wake John up, let him know, and then I'll listen to the sounds again, and it'll put me back to sleep.
Yeah. That's very helpful for sleep. I do that a lot.
Yeah, it really, I think it would help people, from the serious end of the most serious end of the spectrum, like what we're talking about, to even somebody who might have had a stressful day at work and not, know how to unwind. My therapist suggested it a long time ago, and we use it every night, and it really is. I mean, I can't say that it's taken everything away, but it's certainly become a tool.
Yeah, I've used those since when I was little. I mean, I always have an air machine, but then I would use, the rain and thunder. And on YouTube, you can even look up scenarios like, on the beach, hearing rain hit the palm tree, or you can even look up like for Harry Potter. Speaking of Harry Potter, you can look up like the sounds of the Gryffindor common room or the Ravenclaw common room or Slytherin, and you hear noises that you would hear if it was in real life, and those things can calm you down, or if you're studying or just want to go and be in the moment and then have something to help you, help you calm down. It's very soothing. So I'm glad that that's been brought to the table for a tool, because all we need in life is put all the tools we got to help each other,
Absolutely. And, I've tried to do as little medication as I can. I've been having a really bad month. So they did up a couple of my medications, one of which I want to bring right back down to where it was as soon as I get through this hard patch. But
thank God you have access to that.
Yes, I thank God every day that I do. I'm unfortunately also disabled. After 3 back surgeries, I don't get around too well. So I'm on disability and in chronic pain, so it's like a fine balance of finding the right medications to treat my anxiety and depression that won't overcome my chronic pain medication and vice versa.
Oh yeah.
There were times at the beginning where I would just be a zombie, like just laying on the couch, and I'm like, I can't live this way. I'd rather live having a panic attack than not know anything.
Because you're just you're like disassociative.
Yeah, when my panic attack started, and our youngest son was pretty young, and 5 out of 6 days we packed him up and dragged him to the emergency room with us at night because I thought I was having a heart attack, and they kept telling me, no, we keep telling you you're not having a panic attack.
It feels like.
And I said, well, I don't know what the difference is, but I can't breathe and my chest hurts. And that's when I finally went to my doctor and got medication for the anxiety. And then I switched to a new doctor who's actually even better. She's been wonderful. And she recognized my depression as well and did something for that.
That's a battle. And Robin, not to cut you short, but I'm so glad you shared as much as you did today. It's really important that when we start bringing things to light, Chris Sporton chimed in, so strong, Robin Restaino. And yes, she is really strong. And those of us who know her kind of closely are quite aware that I think she is an exemplary person for just persevering. And John, I know you say you're nothing, but no way, brother.
No,
you've done so much to be there for her. I've often said you set the bar pretty high for the rest of us. But and
you're a role model.
Yeah, exactly. And so, with the idea of doing a documentary, you've already heard a lot from Robin as to what she went through in life, the outcomes, the things that it's had. And when we do these shows, we're looking at opportunities to voice these, not just what happened, but we're looking at ways to voice what the outcomes are. What's the collateral damage in our lives? Mm-hmm. What happens with racism? What happens with a community that doesn't help its police? A community that doesn't protect its children? And Kim D'Angelo Guthrie says, very strong woman she is just by listening to her story. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. And you're getting great support here. So that's something that I know that
interested in this.
Absolutely. It's a compelling subject because here's the quickest thing I can give you. People were asking recently, why don't women go to the police, etc. We live in a society that's dictated by Hollywood. I'm sorry. We watch TV and a rape case goes on in a 1-hour television show and it's all wrapped up and everybody's okay when it's over. But that ain't life.
No,
that is not
usually.
NYPD Blue or Special Victims Unit. I'm sorry. It could be based on cases. Life isn't packaged into quick fix solutions. Life is long and slow, and it's confusing, and you don't know the outcomes. And Robin has lived in fear and darkness, and John has tried to share that with her. And now that they've at least got the person identified and served, that helps get the ball rolling. And those other cases is what we're gonna look at. And we were talking earlier about so much else in our community that where we have to start talking and really listening to the stories and helping people with the collateral damage.
Right.
You'd be amazed how many stories I hear about too, just in my, offer to reach out. People I can easily say 10 people have said to me, you're the first person I've ever said this to.
Right.
And
right. Wow. That means you're making a difference then for sure.
Yeah. Which makes me feel great. And it's part of my healing. But at the same time, it's like, how do we leave so many people out there that aren't being helped? Like it just breaks my heart to know that there's so many people going through what I went through that don't have John, that don't have Peter and Barb, that don't have
You're blessed.
the people in my life that are helping me get through it. And it's just, I just implore anyone that's going through it to find someone to reach out to that can help you.
Yeah, don't keep it in. I just, on the topic of this is a perfect time to bring it up, but, something related to it's related to the LGBT community. So, but there is this terminology for pedophiles now, where they're called MAPS, which means minor attracted person, and they're trying to on Twitter, on YouTube, they're trying to come across as members of the LGBTQ plus community, and that it's just an orientation, a sexual orientation, and I find this disgusting, and one of the things that grinds my gears is they're like, well, as long as you're not acting on it, it's fine to embrace it. And I'm like, that's something for y'all to keep to yourselves. Yeah. If that's the case, thank God you're not acting on it. But like, don't try and put that on a community that literally has fought tooth and nail for decades to finally be accepted, because pedophilia is not to be accepted in any society, and I'll never stand for that, and I'll fight against this. And I cannot believe they actually have like a flag and all that BS, which I don't like, because as soon as we got our rights, everybody went off into categories anyway. You know, there's different flags for bisexuals, for transgender. It's like the rainbow flag, I feel like should encompass us all, you know, but like I said, I can't believe that this is something we're dealing with in 2020.
That's part of a greater of a situation that I was dealing with another host on the program one day who said, I want to, this whole thing about pedophiles being an orientation. It was, if you go through the different sources that are out there to refute fake news, what happened was somewhere back around April Fool's, it was an April Fool's joke where somebody included the P at the end of the LGBTQ cadence, whatever, and it does vary from place to place. But Reuters and Snopes all showed that it was really just a prank someone pulled that led to the misbelief. It's actually a great segue for you to bring up that people look at a meme on Facebook. How many people do you know look at a meme? There's a thing called the Buffalo Chronicle, and it's probably the worst piece of trash ever done. I mean, it's stupid. And this guy Matt Ricciazzi is the editor, and he wrote an article 2 weeks ago about how the people of Tonawanda want police to be able to accept sexual favors.
Oh, yeah, I saw an article. I thought it was a joke.
It is a joke.
Oh, okay.
Because this is the problem. Right. You see a headline, and people are all like, well, that's a stupid idea. They don't read it to find out, like he quotes the Coalition of Suburban Women Voters. There is no such coalition.
Right.
This is the same guy who this is going to sound a little distasteful, back some months ago wrote an article about how Big Black Cock is going to save Main Street in Niagara Falls because of a sex industry that will appeal to Canadian women who come down for sex entertainment. And in this article, you read it. The first thing, if you're a journalist or you're involved, I know you are, Johnny, you've studied communications, and John, you're so well read. You start reading these things, and what you see is sources close to the mayor. You see someone said, like, no one is named. There's no authority.
The source is not, it's not credible.
Yeah. And so he writes this article months ago. He writes the Tonawanda article, and there was another one in last night that I can't even remember because it was so stupid. And that's it's not a pet peeve. It's it is a crusade I'm on, that stop opening Facebook, looking at a headline and reacting.
Right.
Read it.
People
understand it.
That's, and I've done that myself accidentally. Sometimes I'll post a video and I don't realize that the source that I'm posting from is, not necessarily the best place. It's good to look at both sides of the spectrum in any type of thing, anything, and check their sources. Right.
Read the article first of all. Does it sit well with you? If you look at any article like that, this thing about the sex industry in Niagara Falls, as soon as you start reading it, you realize there's no substance.
Right.
But we are so busy reacting to memes. We see a meme, and man, that's our lives now. We've boiled down the intelligence of humanity to a one-page picture with a little bit of verbiage in it that puts across a point or attacks another point.
Right.
And
So
we're Chris Fortin wants me to swear. Forget it, brother. Especially not on this show. That's not my job, brother. But there you go. That is one of the things that Matt Ricciazzi, and I was responding to the whole thing about maps, and pedophiles are not an orientation.
No,
we know that
it's an illness.
And the gay community. We talked about this at the earlier part this evening when we got together. You were mentioning, Johnny, that I really admired that you said that. You said, I'm as a member of the gay community, I can't understand what people of color go through.
Right, because they like to compare that we're both minorities. But it's,
And what did I ask you? I said, how many times in your life have you declined to declare who you are because of fear? And you've lived with that. When AIDS struck, there was such a right-wing movement that said it's a gay disease.
I couldn't imagine growing up during that.
I had friends who were gay at the time who died. One I would visit every day in hospice, and his family shunned him because, he's gay. We can't, there's love and compassion.
Yeah.
President Reagan didn't say the word AIDS in public until 25,000 people had died. That is an ostracization and just the way people felt about the gay community. And it isn't just the gay community. It isn't just the black community.
Yeah.
It's how do people of the Middle East feel when they're lumped in with terrorists?
Right.
Remember the Lackawanna 5 or whatever it was?
Yeah, the 6, yeah.
My favorite thing there is people say, well, they were terrorists here. You know what turned them in? The Muslim community did.
Right.
They don't want this. The Muslim people.
Right. The majority. I know. I saw a man. He's Muslim, and he spoke about how the majority of Muslims are peaceful, loving, and they follow the religion, and then there's a small section that are the radicals. I just wanted
like Christians.
Right.
Yeah, right. I just wanted. We were talking earlier about that show on Netflix that everybody's saying, cancel Netflix. It's called Cuties. It's a French movie about.
It's like a series, I think.
It's a series about child sexualization at a young age, and it's ridiculously way too far. Unneeded and unnecessary.
Yeah, the dance. Me and Robin saw it last night. Oh my god!
I've only seen a clip of a girl, but
we saw the clip of but there was a bunch of the little girls dancing.
11-year-old girls.
But they were dancing as if they were a gentleman's club. I would say
in a hip hop music video for people 18 and up. And I know there was one segment in which the young girl was. It's basically almost teaching young girls how to, I'm trying to think of the word. How to get a man or an adult in trouble by grabbing their phone, taking a picture of their genitalia, and then putting it online.
Yep.
If they're mad at their dad or mad at the guy in the show, they're mad at the guy that's helping her mother out and the daughter, and she goes and does that. I'm just saying that puts something that's disgusting, but also puts bad ideas, and it's just like.
Yeah, there's something weird going on with trying to make pedophilia. Like mainstream, just normal, like
or
normalizing
like Desmond, the amazing drag. He's a drag. He's a little kid who's a drag queen, and he believes he's gay, but I don't know because I really don't know if everybody can know 100% for sure. But he does drag, and that's fine. But he was at a club at night and doing a number, and guys were throwing dollars at him, and I'm like, a child should not be in a nightclub, period.
Nope.
Or there's another little boy named Lactatia or something, and it.
Where were you going, John, with that? Because I know you were on. It was something else.
What's that?
You were just saying about the orientation.
No, it was just I'm just noticing a little bit, and Johnny knows. I can tell that you know more than I do because I just saw it recently last night.
Yeah, it's been going on for a few.
On Facebook, I was noticing there's some people that are just trying to say. I saw there was a post where someone was defending a pedophile and was saying, why do everyone want to hurt them? They should want to help them. They are sick and they need help. And I'm thinking, man.
We can't help them unless you're a doctor.
I don't know what to even say to that. I mean, it's not, if we normalize that, we're already
that's a taboo topic.
I don't know.
It's I hate to blame the media because I'm a product of the media. But one of the things about this, I can reflect back as far as 1990, was that I was directing a show in Toronto, a community show, and everyone wanted to put something in. I had these young 15 or 16-year-old women came in, wanted to do a Madonna dance at the time, and we. Madonna was very suggestive for her time. I mean, it just goes back all the different role models women have that they followed, and men as well. But I remember back at the time, the young ladies were rehearsing on the main stage ahead of the show, and the one young lady grabbed her crotch, as Madonna does in the video. And the parents who were present said, we can't have that. So I took the young ladies aside, and I said, look, we got to cut that out. And the one young lady became incredibly indignant. She goes, it's artistic expression. And without missing a beat, I said, you're absolutely right. I said, and I defend that artistic expression, but you're not the artist. You are the interpreter.
Right. How old were they?
They were 15.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They were a group of people who kids who instead they're not Madonna. They're not paid with ticket buyers who are old enough to say, "I'll take whatever she gives me," and that's her expression. But they are interpreting Madonna for a different audience. So in the end, the kids understood it because as soon as they realized you're not Madonna, you don't have the same license. But I remember back then that the young people, I mean, back in my day as well, all the bad influences, etc. Today you've got kids, 11 years old twerking. And all of these expressions that come from multimedia and the type of videos they've been exposed to going back into the 80s and 70s where music became visual. Kids are just pummeled with this stuff and they're buying into it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember people would complain about, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera just wearing a crop top like that would just show their belly. That they had their breasts covered, their legs were covered fully. They were saying that was bad, and oh my God, and this is such a bad thing. And then you look at now, and you see twerking and just very, very, very suggestive outfits. And every generation says this is horrible, but everyone proceeds to get worse.
Well, Cardi B presently,
she's making a fool of herself,
and
she
shouldn't be in politics. WAP.
Yeah,
the kids are walking around, and if you know the acronym, I don't mean to be untasteful. No, I'll just say it. Yeah. It's wet ass pussy.
Right.
And it's like we laugh, but this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm not a moralist.
That's
I'm all
too
for
much.
artistic expression, but our kids are being so bombarded by it and told it's normal.
Yeah, and the edited version is wet and gushy.
Yeah,
it's still it's and this is how they're easily influencing this pedophilia behavior probably too, because they're like, the kids are
like, who's going to be watching Cuties? I mean, who's watching that?
Right. People in disgust and people pedophiles.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean,
police, FBI.
John, the reason that John and I know about both of these things is because our 17-year-old son was appalled enough to come downstairs and say, "Can you believe what I just saw?"
He literally went to you guys.
Yeah, and came to us and said, "I can't believe that this is on there," and that's how we became aware of it, because you think you're so much, but your kids know twice as much as you do, and that's a scary thing. And when I think of what I know that's going on, I mean, thank God our youngest is almost 18, because I mean, these days it's tough. We have 2 grandkids, and I just, this world that they're growing up in,
it's scary.
It is. It's very scary.
And to add on to that about the different things that are going on, I mean, on Netflix they took off episodes because of shows because it was about police, okay, and they took off some shows that were made in a different time and had some jokes that aren't necessarily the nicest, and they've taken that off, okay. They've taken off way less worse things, but they have this on there. So I'm just saying they're clearly on a narrative of not. They're clearly on a narrative of a certain side and a certain audience, and now they're
an agenda.
An agenda. But now they're finally, by everybody, being called out on their favoritism, and now how this is just a disgusting thing to have on their platform.
And Colleen Carey, a really good comment here. I'm sorry, but children are traumatized by being sexually assaulted. Their innocence is taken away from them. They develop mental issues, drug addiction, as we talked about.
Yeah.
And so we have to start calling in the media on this. Hearing the dialogue today that everyone has had just in the last 15 minutes about this show. We're all suitably outraged, but there's still a demographic out there that seems to have it on Netflix. And you know what? In our age of free speech, in a sense, if it's immoral or wrong and does have pedophilia or something like that in it, then it can be taken down. But rather than take it down, we got to stop paying attention to it and giving it all this attention.
Right. There's a time and place. And I know it's foreign, it's a European movie, and you know how they're always the ones to really escalate blurring lines and stuff too, so at least it wasn't, I don't think it's American. No. But it's just, it's horrible, and I hope we can get that off. And
well, I'm going to we're coming in at 8:02 right now, so
it goes by so fast.
I'm going to ask everyone to say their good nights. I'm going to start with Robin, who none of us have seen, but she's in an easy, comfy chair.
Yeah.
And Robin, the
Yes.
most important question of the night is
Superhero
Ohio
of the
Barb
night.
awake?
Ohio Barb is awake.
I hope
and
she
has
is
been
after you
alert
spoke.
throughout the show.
Wait
All
till
right.
Good.
We
Wednesday.
must be doing something right tonight.
Yes, well, you're
Yep.
a superhero of the night, and we're very
Yeah.
happy to have
Thank
both you and
I-
John on.
I'm
Thanks.
sorry that I took up so much
No,
time with my
you're a co-host, special co-host. We want other people's voices on the show. That's really what it is about. It's about Niagara Voices. So
I really appreciate you guys having me. I appreciate the documentary that Peter's working
I'm very
so
excited
hard
for
on.
that to see.
And once again, please reach out to me if you're out there and you're somebody that needs help or
Don't
just
keep
needs
quiet.
somebody to listen. Robin Restaino on Facebook, or go to the Citizens United page.
Yeah, I'm friends with her and John. So if you're friends with me or friends with you can check them out.
Peter, Barb, everybody here knows how to get a hold of me. So if you need somebody to talk to, I'm there.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. John, thank
Yes.
you for
Yes,
coming
really.
in from on your Friday night,
Well, thank you.
and because you're usually here on Wednesday evening.
Yes.
You give a pitch for your show now.
All right,
Let everyone know.
Yeah.
Wednesday at 6:00, Citizens United with me and Chris. And this week we found, because what I've been doing is trying to get a different political party person. Like I had a Green, I had a Libertarian, I had a Republican.
That's awesome.
And now I want to get
doing
it. I got a Trump supporter coming up. Her name is Lisa Dorado. I look forward to that. And I really hope I can find a Democrat at some point so we can
Yeah,
talk to
yeah.
them. The other thing I'm going to say before I say goodnight is I want to thank all of you guys, the whole Uwawa Media family, Peter, Barb, Johnny right here, Chris, everyone, Brett, the whole deal, because you became a family to me and to Robin, and it's big because you have no idea how much it helped Robin. And if you help Robin, then you helped me. And
course.
you guys are great. So thank you.
Don't forget Noelle and Courtney.
Oh yeah, Noelle and
Love you
Courtney.
guys
Yeah,
too. We
yeah,
love you
they're
too.
all of them. Of
course.
They're all great.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, ladies. Ohio Barb, still awake back there. That's
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Everyone, have a wonderful evening. Tomorrow afternoon, for the first time, Dante Miles will return. And doesn't that sound good, return for the first time? But he is launching a new program that will help, we hope, create dialogue between the black and white community and all communities in Niagara Falls. It's called Black Reality Unscripted. He has got quite the team with him, Kemsa Musa, who we all know, and a young lady, forgive me, I don't remember the name, but I think it's going to bring a new voice to Niagara. That's tomorrow. I believe it's at 5. I could be wrong, but
And he'll
I
be
only
back
own the
next
studio.
week on
We'll be
Friday,
back here on
yes.
Friday night with Niagara Voices, and Dante will be here.
Yes.
So thanks everyone very much.
Thank you so much for
And
tuning in.
everyone for tuning in. Yeah, thank you, Kim and Chris and everyone else. Have a great night.
Good night.